Did you know that beneath California's famous beaches lies a coastline so complex it could wrap around the entire planet? That hidden in its mountains are trees so massive a single one contains enough wood to build 120 houses, and that the state's highest and lowest points in the entire continental United States are separated by just 85 miles? California isn't just Hollywood and sunshine. It's a land of impossible extremes, secret volcanic threats, and geographical mysteries that even lifelong Californians have never discovered? Get ready, because today you're about to uncover 50 California secrets that will completely change the way you see the Golden State. Let's dive in. Fact 50. California's true coastline defies measurement. Everyone knows California has 840 miles of coast, but that's a lie. That number only counts a straight line from Oregon to Mexico. When you measure every inlet, bay, sea cave, and rocky peninsula, the real number explodes to 3,427 miles. You could wrap that coastline around the Earth's equator and still have enough left over to stretch from Los Angeles to Seattle. This fractal complexity creates hundreds of microclimates where you can surf at dawn in San Diego, kayak through Big Sur sea caves at noon, and watch fog roll over Mendocino cliffs by sunset. Fact 49. Mountains that march the wrong direction. Drive through Southern California and you'll notice something geologically impossible. The transverse ranges run east to west, completely defying the north to south pattern of every other major mountain chain in North America. These rebel peaks stretch across the state like a belt cinched around America's waistline. Their perpendicular orientation creates meteorological chaos. Pacific storms slam into these walls and dump moisture on southern slopes while leaving northern sides in rain-shadow deserts. This is why you can ski fresh powder in Big Bear while palm trees sway in desert heat just 40 miles away. Fact 48. The world's largest living thing isn't the tallest. Coastal redwoods dominate the height records, but when it comes to sheer mass, there's only one champion. The General Sherman Tree in Sequoia National Park contains over 52,500 cubic feet of wood. That's enough material to build 120 average American houses. At 275 feet tall, it's actually shorter than many redwoods, but its trunk diameter of 36 feet at the base makes it a wooden skyscraper. The tree weighs approximately 2.7 million pounds, making it the heaviest living organism on the planet. Even more incredible, General Sherman adds enough wood every year to equal a full 65-foot tree, and it's been doing this for 2,200 years. Fact 47. America's tallest and lowest points are siblings. Mount Whitney rises to 14,505 feet, the highest peak in the lower 48 states. Badwater Basin in Death Valley drops to 282 feet below sea level, the lowest point in North America. These extremes are separated by just 85 miles. You could theoretically eat breakfast at the top of Whitney and be roasting in Death Valley by lunch if you had wings. This vertical roller coaster creates a gradient so extreme that ecosystems change completely every few miles. The journey between them crosses alpine tundra, dense forests, high desert, and the most hostile environment in the Western Hemisphere. Fact 46. California's largest lake was born from disaster. The Salton Sea didn't exist until 1905, when Colorado River irrigation canals breached and flooded the Salton Sink for 2 solid years. The resulting lake spans 45 miles long and 20 miles wide, sitting 226 feet below sea level. At its peak, the Salton Sea attracted more visitors than Yosemite and hosted more yacht clubs than Lake Tahoe. Today it's shrinking and becoming saltier than the Pacific Ocean, creating an ecological paradox where massive fish die-offs feed one of North America's most important bird migration stopovers. It remains California's largest lake by surface area, a testament to unintended consequences. Before continuing, be sure to subscribe to discover hidden stories and curiosities about California that no one else will tell you. Fact 45. 7 active volcanoes hide in plain sight. California hosts 7 active volcanoes, surprising everyone who thinks eruptions only happen in Hawaii or the Pacific Northwest. Mount Shasta, a 14,179-foot stratovolcano, last erupted in 1786 and could wake up any century now. Lassen Peak blew its top between 1914 and 1917, making it the only volcano in the contiguous United States to erupt during the 20th century. The Long Valley Caldera near Mammoth Lakes is a supervolcano that has been swelling and causing earthquakes since 1980. These geological pressure cookers remind residents that California's famous earthquakes share the stage with volcanic fireworks that the USGS monitors constantly. Fact 44. The Central Valley is collapsing. The San Joaquin Valley has dropped 28 feet in some places since the 1920s due to excessive groundwater pumping for agriculture. NASA measured the valley sinking at 2 feet per year in certain hot spots during the recent drought. Roads crack, canals break, and bridges need constant adjustment as the landscape deflates. This occurs when aquifers are drained faster than rain can replenish them, causing the ground to compact permanently. The sinking creates irreversible changes to the valley's water storage capacity, like crushing a sponge and wondering why it holds less liquid. This geological deformation is visible from space. Fact 43, one valley feeds half of America. The Central Valley produces more than half of America's fruits, nuts, and vegetables on less than 1% of the nation's farmland. This 450-mile-long valley grows 99% of the country's artichokes and walnuts, plus 95% of its broccoli. The soil is so fertile it practically grows rocks if you plant them. Irrigation transformed this semi-desert into an agricultural Eden that generates $50 billion annually. The valley cultivates 250 different crops, more than any other comparably sized region on Earth. Without this single valley, American grocery stores would stock little more than potatoes and corn. Fact 42. Glaciers and palm trees share the same zip code. California's geography ignores logical climate rules. Active glaciers still grind away in the Sierra Nevada mountains, permanent ice fields that have survived since the last ice age. These frozen rivers persist at high elevations where temperatures never rise above freezing. Meanwhile, palm trees sway along beaches hundreds of miles south. The state contains the southernmost glacier in the United States, the Palisade Glacier, and some of the northernmost palm tree groves. You could ski on a glacier in the morning, and with enough determination and a fast car, be sipping cocktails under palm fronds by sunset. Fact 41. Swimming buffalo on an island. 14 bison arrived on Santa Catalina Island in 1924 for a movie shoot that never happened. The film crew left. The bison stayed, and they've been there ever since. These massive mammals didn't take a ferry, they swam. Bison are surprisingly buoyant and can cross significant bodies of water when motivated. The Catalina herd now numbers around 150 individuals and represents one of the most genetically pure bison populations in America, free from the cattle genes that pollute most mainland herds. The island has no natural predators for adult bison, creating a bizarre ecosystem where these plains giants lounge on beaches. Fact 40. The densest Joshua tree forest on Earth. The Mojave National Preserve contains the world's largest and densest Joshua tree forest, covering 25,000 acres. Joshua trees aren't actually trees, but members of the yucca family, making them giant succulents that can live over 500 years. The forest looks like a botanical army of twisted, spiky sentinels standing guard over the desert. These plants grow only in the Mojave Desert, and California hosts 2.5 million acres of them. Climate change threatens this unique forest as rising temperatures push suitable habitat northward faster than the trees can migrate, potentially creating a ghost forest within our lifetime. Fact 39. A tree that exists nowhere else on Earth. The coastal redwood, California's official state tree, grows naturally only in a narrow 450-mile strip along the California and southern Oregon coast. These trees are living fossils, relatives of trees that lived during the age of dinosaurs. Their natural range is limited by fog patterns that provide up to 40% of their water needs. Redwoods extract moisture directly from the air through their needles, a trick that allows them to survive summer droughts. You cannot plant a redwood forest anywhere else on Earth and expect it to thrive. The trees are prisoners of geography, bound to a climate zone that exists only where Pacific moisture meets coastal mountains. Fact 38. The coast too wild to build on. Most of California's coastline is accessible, developed, or at least visible from Highway 1. The Lost Coast laughs at such accessibility. This 80-mile stretch in Humboldt and Mendocino counties contains no major roads, no towns, and hardly any people. Mountains rise directly from the Pacific Ocean, creating a wall of wilderness that defeated highway engineers. State Route 1 was forced inland for 200 miles to bypass this geographical rebellion. Black bears wander the beaches, Roosevelt elk bugle in coastal meadows, and tides can trap the unwary against cliffs. The Lost Coast is California's geographical middle finger to development. Fact 37. A great white shark buffet near San Francisco. The Farallon Islands sit 30 miles west of the Golden Gate Bridge, hosting the largest concentration of great white sharks on Earth. These rocky outcrops are the only place where scientists can study adult great whites in their natural habitat. The sharks arrive each fall to feast on seals and sea lions, creating a marine Serengeti just a short boat ride from one of America's most famous cities. The waters around the islands are so treacherous that even experienced captains hesitate to land. This proximity of apex predators to a major metropolitan area is unmatched anywhere else in the world. Fact 36. The San Andreas Fault moves like fingernails grow. The San Andreas Fault system slides at an average rate of 2 inches per year, the same speed your fingernails grow. This might sound slow, but over millions of years, it has transported Los Angeles northward toward San Francisco at a pace that will merge the two cities in about 15 million years. The fault is visible from space as a linear scar across the landscape, cutting through deserts, mountains, and even the Salton Sea. It creates the state's most distinctive geographical feature, a crack in the Earth's crust, where the Pacific and North American plates engage in a slow-motion wrestling match. Fact 35. A dead sea that refuses to die. Mono Lake has no outlet, making it 3 times saltier than the ocean and twice as salty as the Great Salt Lake. Yet it teems with life. Brine shrimp and alkali flies thrive in water so alkaline it would dissolve most organisms. The lake's famous tufa towers are calcium carbonate spires that formed underwater when freshwater springs met the alkaline lake water. These towers now stand above the surface like a limestone forest, exposed after Los Angeles diverted the lake's tributary streams in the 1940s. Mono Lake is a geographical lesson in resilience, where extremophile organisms prove that life finds a way even in conditions that mimic battery acid. Fact 34. California's Galapagos Islands. The Channel Islands are a chain of 8 islands, hosting 145 species found nowhere else on Earth. The islands' isolation created evolutionary laboratories, where unique animals and plants developed over millennia. The island fox, no larger than a house cat, evolved from mainland gray foxes that rafted to the islands 10,000 years ago. The islands also host the island scrub jay, the only bird species endemic to California. Pygmy mammoth fossils have been found here, proving that dwarf elephants once roamed these rocky outposts. Each island has its own distinct ecosystem, preserved by geographical isolation. Fact 33. Lake Tahoe could flood California 14 inches deep. Lake Tahoe holds 39 trillion gallons of water, making it the largest alpine lake in North America and the second deepest lake in the United States after Crater Lake. Its maximum depth of 1,645 feet means you could sink the Empire State Building in it and still have 200 feet of water covering the observation deck. The lake is so clear that objects are visible at depths of 70 feet. Tahoe's water is 99.7% pure, nearly as pure as distilled water. The lake straddles the California-Nevada border at 6,225 feet elevation, a blue sapphire surrounded by peaks that rise another 4,000 feet above its surface. Fact 32. A river that flows backward. Most rivers flow from land to sea. The Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta does the opposite. High tides push saltwater inland, creating a complex maze of waterways where freshwater and saltwater constantly battle for territory. This inverted system confuses migratory fish like salmon, which must navigate through 1,000 miles of levied channels and islands to reach the ocean. The Delta's islands are actually below sea level, kept dry by 1,000 miles of levees. Some islands have sunk 25 feet below sea level due to peat soil oxidation. The Delta supplies drinking water to 27 million people. Fact 31. The largest sandmass in North America. The Algodones Dunes stretch 45 miles along the California-Arizona border, covering 200 square miles of pure silica sand. These dunes rise 300 feet high, creating a Saharan landscape in the middle of the Sonoran Desert. The sand originated from ancient Lake Cahuilla, which dried up 300 years ago, leaving behind fine sediments that wind sculpted into this massive dune field. The dunes are so large they have their own microclimate, with temperatures 20 degrees hotter at the sand surface than the surrounding desert. The dunes march relentlessly eastward, swallowing everything in their path at a pace of 1 foot per year. Fact 30. San Francisco Bay holds a year's worth of rivers. San Francisco Bay is the largest estuary on the West Coast, covering 1,600 square miles and holding 1.5 trillion gallons of water. Its waters enter the Pacific through the Golden Gate, a strait only 1 mile wide that funnels 390 billion gallons of water in and out with each tide cycle. The bay is so deep that aircraft carriers can navigate its channels, with depths reaching 372 feet under the Golden Gate Bridge. The bay's watershed drains 40% of California's land area, collecting water from the Sierra Nevada, Central Valley, and Coast Ranges. Fact 29. 3 tectonic plates meet in one spot. The Mendocino Triple Junction is one of the few places on Earth where 3 tectonic plates meet simultaneously. The Pacific, North American, and Gorda plates converge off California's northern coast, creating a geological traffic jam that generates constant earthquakes. This triple junction is moving northward at 2 inches per year, dragging the northern California coast with it. The junction's complexity creates the state's most seismically active region, with more earthquakes per year than the rest of California combined. The San Andreas Fault begins here, launching its 800-mile journey southward. Fact 28. Trees older than the pyramids. The White Mountains of eastern California host the world's oldest living trees, bristlecone pines that have survived for over 5,000 years. These gnarled veterans grow at elevations between 9,800 and 11,000 feet, where soil is thin, water is scarce, and winds howl relentlessly. Their slow growth creates dense, resinous wood that resists decay and insects. Scientists can read annual growth rings like a diary of climate change, tracking precipitation and temperature variations back to the construction of the Egyptian pyramids. The oldest known tree, Methuselah, is 4,853 years old, meaning it sprouted before the invention of writing. Fact 27. Rocks that move by themselves. The Racetrack Playa in Death Valley hosts a mystery that baffled scientists for decades. Rocks weighing up to 700 pounds slide across the flat lake bed, leaving trails in the cracked mud like giant snails. No one witnessed the movement until 2014 when time-lapse cameras captured the secret. Thin sheets of ice form on winter nights, then break into large panels that wind pushes across the shallow water, carrying the rocks with them. The playa is 3 miles long and perfectly flat, with a surface so level the U.S. Navy once used it as a radar target. Fact 26. Mountains still growing taller. The Sierra Nevada mountains aren't wearing down as fast as you might think. Tectonic forces push the range upward at a rate of about 1 to 2 millimeters per year. This occurs because dense rock at the base of the mountains is peeling off and sinking into the mantle, allowing the lighter crust above to float higher, like removing ballast from a hot air balloon. While glaciers, rivers, and weathering constantly chip away at the peaks, the uplift outpaces erosion in many areas. The mountains you see today are actually higher than they were when humans first arrived in North America. Fact 25. Tide pools richer than coral reefs. The rocky intertidal zone along San Diego's coastline is a biological superhighway where cold northern currents meet warm southern waters. A single tide pool can contain over 200 species, from sea stars and anemones to hermit crabs and octopuses. This biodiversity surpasses many coral reefs, which are often dominated by a handful of coral species. The Cabrillo National Monument tide pools alone have documented more than 300 species. Tide pools experience dramatic temperature fluctuations, salinity changes, and wave action that create micro-niches where specialists thrive, packing more distinct life forms into a few square feet than an entire acre of terrestrial habitat. Fact 24. A lake older than modern humans. Clear Lake in Lake County is one of the oldest lakes in North America, with geological estimates placing it at 480,000 years old. This predates the appearance of anatomically modern humans by roughly 200,000 years, making the lake an elder witness to the entire saga of human evolution. The lake formed when volcanic activity and landslides dammed a valley, creating a permanent water body that has survived multiple ice ages, prolonged droughts, and volcanic eruptions. The lake sits atop the Clear Lake volcanic field, which remains active with hot springs bubbling along its shores and magma chambers simmering 4 miles below the surface. Fact 23. America's most polluted river flows into California. The New River crosses the Mexico-California border carrying a toxic cocktail that earns it the title of America's most polluted river. It begins as agricultural runoff and urban sewage in Mexico, then delivers nearly 20 million gallons of contaminated water daily into the Salton Sea. The river carries pesticides, heavy metals, and pathogens in concentrations that make federal Superfund sites look pristine. Border towns have reported foam on the river catching fire due to chemical concentrations. Despite this toxicity, the river supports a surprising array of wildlife, including migratory birds that use the Salton Sea as a critical stopover. Fact 22. Deserts more diverse than forests. California's 3 desert regions, the Mojave, Sonoran, and Great Basin, contain over 2,500 native plant species. New England's famously lush forests harbor around 2,000 species. This desert diversity seems impossible given the harsh conditions, but California's varied elevation, soil types, and microclimates create evolutionary pressure cookers where adaptation runs wild. The Mojave alone has 250 species of cacti and succulents, while the Sonoran Desert includes the bizarre boojum tree, a 60-foot-tall succulent that looks like an inverted parsnip. Deserts eliminate competition from moisture-loving plants, allowing specialists to thrive in isolation. Fact 21. A floodplain bigger than Massachusetts. The Sacramento River's floodplain encompasses the entire Central Valley, which is 450 miles long and up to 60 miles wide. During major flood events, this basin becomes an inland sea covering over 10,000 square miles. Massachusetts covers 10,565 square miles, meaning a catastrophic flood could theoretically submerge an area equivalent to the Bay State under several feet of water. The Great Flood of 1862 turned the Central Valley into a lake 300 miles long and 20 miles deep in places, lasting for months. Today, 1,600 miles of levees protect cities and farmland. Fact 20. The Golden Gate's name predates its bridge. The Golden Gate Bridge gets its name from the Golden Gate Strait, the narrow entrance to San Francisco Bay that was named in 1846, long before the bridge existed. Explorer John C. Fremont named it after the Golden Horn Harbor in Istanbul, noting the strategic importance and the golden light that bathes the strait at sunset. The bridge's iconic color, officially called International Orange, Chassis en Finance Sankin National Orange, was chosen to complement the natural surroundings and enhance visibility. The bridge is named after the geographical feature it spans, not its distinctive paint job, a fact that confuses tourists expecting to find a golden-colored gate. Fact 19. Point Reyes is a geological castaway. Point Reyes Peninsula is a chunk of the Pacific Plate that got separated from mainland California by the San Andreas Fault. The peninsula is marching northward at 2 inches per year, destined to become an island in about 10 million years as the fault pulls it away from the coast. Its geology matches the Tehachapi Mountains 300 miles south, proving it originated there before the fault transported it north. The peninsula's landscape looks like it belongs in Southern California, with rolling hills and coastal bluffs that contrast sharply with the rugged terrain of the mainland coast just across the fault line. Fact 18. A state park larger than Los Angeles. Anza Borrego Desert State Park spans 640,000 acres, making it California's largest state park and the second largest in the contiguous United States. The city of Los Angeles covers 468,000 acres, meaning you could drop the entire urban sprawl of LA into the park and still have room for San Diego. This vast desert wilderness protects 600,000 acres of the Colorado Desert. The park contains 500 miles of dirt roads, 110 miles of hiking trails, and 12 designated wilderness areas, creating complete ecosystems where bighorn sheep, coyotes, and bobcats roam without ever encountering a fence. Fact 17. An ocean current stronger than all rivers combined. The California Current is a massive oceanic river that flows southward along the coast, moving 20 million cubic meters of water per second. Add up every river on Earth, and they transport only 1.2 million cubic meters per second. This current is 1,200 miles long and 300 miles wide, a liquid continent that controls weather patterns from British Columbia to Baja California. The current's cold, nutrient-rich waters create one of the world's most productive marine ecosystems, supporting everything from microscopic plankton to blue whales. Its sheer volume influences fog formation, coastal temperatures, and rainfall patterns across the entire western United States. Fact 16. The geographic center is in the middle of nowhere. The exact geographic center of California sits near the town of North Fork in Madera County at 37 degrees 9 minutes north latitude and 119 degrees 27 minutes west longitude. This point sits 7 miles southwest of North Fork, a community of 3,000 that perches at the base of the Sierra Nevada. The location is so remote that the state placed a plaque in 1996, but visitors must navigate Forest Service roads to find it. North Fork is 150 miles from the coast and 150 miles from the Nevada border, a perfect midpoint that represents the geographical heart of America's most geographically complex state. Before moving on to the top 15, remember to subscribe to the channel and give it a like to become experts in American geography. Fact 15. Hot springs that preserve ancient rain. When you visit hot springs in the Southern Sierra, you aren't just bathing in warm water. You're soaking in history. Geologists have determined that the rainwater surfacing in California's thermal springs today actually fell from the sky thousands of years ago. It takes that long for water to slowly percolate deep into the earth, get superheated by geothermal activity, and rush back up fault lines. You're effectively bathing in vintage rainstorms that fell while ancient civilizations were building their monuments. Fact 14. A volcanic field hiding in the desert. Near the town of Shasta, the Medicine Lake volcano sits quietly. Most people don't realize it's there because it doesn't look like a traditional volcano. Instead of a cone, it's a massive shield volcano covering 1,200 square miles, making it the largest volcano by volume in the Cascade Range. The caldera at its summit is 6 miles wide, and lava tubes like Lava Beds National Monument honeycomb the landscape. The volcano has erupted as recently as 1,000 years ago, and scientists consider it still active, capable of erupting again. Fact 13. Underwater forests in mountain lakes. In the depths of Lake Tahoe and other high Sierra lakes, entire forests stand preserved underwater. Because the water is so cold and lacks the bacteria that typically decompose wood, trees that fell into these lakes hundreds or even thousands of years ago remain perfectly intact, They stand upright on the steep underwater slopes, their branches still attached, creating ghostly arboretums that only deep divers ever see. The cold, pure water acts like a natural preservative, freezing time at the lake bottom. Fact 12. A river that carved its canyon backward. Kings Canyon in the southern Sierra Nevada is one of the deepest canyons in North America, with walls rising 8,000 feet above the Kings River. What makes it strange is that the river appears to have carved the canyon by flowing backward, cutting upward into the mountains. Geologists believe the river was captured and redirected by glacial activity, forcing it to carve a completely new path through solid granite. The result is a canyon so steep and deep that parts of it remain unexplored to this day. Fact 11. California's secret wine caves. Beneath Napa and Sonoma valleys lie miles of hand-carved wine caves tunneling through the hillsides. These aren't modern constructions, but century-old excavations dug by Chinese immigrants in the 1800s. The caves maintain a constant temperature and humidity year-round, creating perfect conditions for aging wine without electricity. Some wineries have caves stretching over a mile underground, forming entire subterranean cities dedicated to fermentation. Walking through these tunnels is like exploring a wine cellar designed by miners. Fact 10. A desert that blooms once a decade. During most years, Death Valley and the Mojave Desert are barren wastelands. But after a rare wet winter, something magical happens. Dormant seeds that have waited underground for decades suddenly sprout, and the valley explodes into carpets of desert gold, purple lupine, and rare desert lilies. These super blooms are so spectacular they can be seen from space. The flowers bloom, seed, and die within a few weeks, disappearing back into the sand where they'll wait another 10 or 20 years for the next perfect storm. Fact 9. Mountains made of pure crystal. The Crystal Cave beneath Sequoia National Park isn't just a cave, it's a marble palace. The entire chamber is formed from metamorphosed limestone that was cooked and pressurized deep underground, transforming into pure marble. Water flowing through the marble dissolved it into spectacular formations, including rare cave curtains so thin they're translucent. The cave was discovered by two park rangers in 1918 who followed a stream into the mountain and found themselves in a cathedral of gleaming white stone. Fact 8. A fault line you can walk inside. At the Carrizo Plain National Monument, the San Andreas Fault is so visible you can walk directly along the crack in the Earth's crust. The landscape here is untouched by development, allowing you to see the fault's offset streams, sag ponds, and pressure ridges with perfect clarity. Standing on the fault line, Kiama Praringirs Semetanon falling, you can put 1 foot on the Pacific Plate and 1 foot on the North American Plate, literally straddling two pieces of the planet, moving in opposite directions. Fact 7. Volcanic glass mountains. The Glass Mountain in Siskiyou County is made almost entirely of obsidian. Volcanic glass formed when lava cools so rapidly there's no time for crystals to form. The mountain glitters in the sunlight, with razor-sharp shards of black glass covering the slopes. Native Americans traveled here for thousands of years to harvest obsidian for tools and weapons. The glass is so pure and sharp that surgeons today still prefer obsidian scalpels for certain delicate procedures because the edge is sharper than any steel blade. Fact 6. A waterfall that flows upward. During strong winds at Yosemite, the spray from Bridal Veil Fall doesn't fall down, it blows upward. The 620-foot waterfall is so narrow, and the canyon walls create such powerful updrafts that the water can literally reverse direction and rain upward onto the cliff face. It's a surreal sight that defies physics, creating rainbows that form upside down and water that climbs toward the sky, instead of falling to Earth. Fact 5. California has its own inland sea. The Salton Sea might be dying, but at 343 square miles, it's still one of the largest lakes in California. What most people don't know is that this wasn't the first time water filled this basin. Geologists have found evidence that ancient Lake Cahuilla filled and dried at least 4 times over the past 1,000 years, each time creating a massive inland sea. The most recent filling occurred around 1450 AD, creating a lake nearly twice the size of the current Salton Sea that lasted for decades before evaporating completely. Fact 4. Trees that survive by burning. Giant sequoias have evolved to not just tolerate fire, but require it. Their cones only open and release seeds when heated by flames. The tree's thick bark, sometimes 2 feet deep, is fireproof and insulates the living tissue inside. Fire clears the forest floor of competing vegetation and returns nutrients to the soil, creating perfect conditions for sequoia seedlings. For over a century, fire suppression nearly destroyed these forests. Only recently have scientists realized that trying to protect the sequoias from fire was actually killing them. Fact 3. A bay that isn't a bay. San Francisco Bay isn't technically a bay at all. It's an estuary, one of the largest on Earth. The distinction matters because bays are carved by ocean waves, while estuaries are drowned river valleys. The bay was formed when glaciers melted at the end of the last ice age, causing sea levels to rise and flood the combined river valley of the Sacramento and San Joaquin rivers. The bay is essentially a river mouth that got swallowed by the ocean. Fact 2. California is slowly tearing apart. The entire state sits on a boundary between two tectonic plates, and they're pulling in opposite directions. The Pacific Plate is moving northwest at 2 inches per year, while the North American Plate stays relatively still. This isn't just creating earthquakes, it's literally tearing California apart. In 15 million years, Los Angeles will be next to San Francisco. In 50 million years, the entire coastal region will be an island chain separated from the mainland by a new ocean basin. Fact 1. The state has its own gravitational anomaly. Near Santa Cruz lies a spot known as the mystery spot where the laws of physics seem broken. Balls roll uphill, people stand at impossible angles, and water appears to flow backward. While many claim it's an optical illusion, gravity measurements show an actual localized anomaly in the gravitational field. Scientists aren't entirely sure why, but theories range from dense mineral deposits underground to unusual magnetic fields. Whatever the cause, standing in the mystery spot feels like stepping into a glitch in reality. Now that you know these 50 secrets about California, tell us which one surprised you the most or which one you'd like to visit. We'd love to read your opinion in the comments and see how many of us picked the same number. And something else many of us will probably agree on is watching the video I'm leaving on screen, because we all love sharing and learning interesting facts. But before you watch it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Otherwise, we might not see each other again.